Welcome back. Now, the Rockefeller Foundation has announced a $35 million grant disbursement to 10 African nations. This is to ensure more equitable access to COVID-19 testing and vaccines, as well as to combat an escalating food crisis and to scale up access to renewable energy. Now, the announcement comes after another commitment of $1 billion by the foundation. Well, joining us to discuss this further is the Foundation's Managing Director for Africa, Mr. William Asiko. Great to have you with us today, Mr. Asiko. Now, of course, looking at that disbursement, about $12 million will go towards Africa's CDC's effort to, of course, accelerate testing and tracing on the continent. Where do you plan to channel the rest of that funding?
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me here. So this is a commitment by the Rockefeller Foundation that aims to end the pandemic for everyone, not just those in wealthier countries, but for everyone, those communities that are disadvantaged and those communities that may not necessarily be getting the support that they need. And so the $12 million, as you've mentioned, is going towards the Africa CDC to support testing and tracing. And the balance of that is going to a myriad of projects that will support this work with the Africa CDC around data. So, for example, data is going to be really important in this fight as we go towards vaccine rollout. For example, testing and tracing, data becomes very important. So we have a lot of grantees that we're giving these grants to establish data systems that can collect data about who has been contacted, who's been named, who's been in contact with somebody who's tested positive, and then later on when the vaccine becomes available, who's been vaccinated, who is ready for the second dose, and so on and so forth. So all the $12 million and the balance of the 35 are all working together towards this effort.
Well, as you know, Africa has lagged seriously behind in terms of acquiring vaccines. I'm curious to know, how is the foundation participating in the efforts to acquire enough doses of the vaccine for Africa?
So as you know, vaccines are short all over the world. And I think many countries have made commitments to vaccinate their populations. And those that are manufacturing the vaccines have an advantage over the others. Africa is not doing badly. I know through the African Vaccine Acquisition Task Force of the African Union, they have already acquired 270 million doses for Africans through the COVAX facility. And so, yes, of course, the vaccines are going to be a challenge, and they will come in batches. But countries are working. There are 4 different sources of vaccines for most African countries. There is the COVAX facility through which the African Union has acquired its 270 million doses. National governments are acquiring vaccines on their own. And then there are countries that are donating excess vaccines that they have, as well as other countries that have gone quite far in vaccinating their people, like countries like China are also donating vaccines to African countries. So even though it will be a challenge to have vaccines, I think that in the long run, Africa will get sufficient doses to get to herd immunity.
Well, let's go back to where these funds are going to be challenged. We know it is all part of a $1 billion commitment by the foundation over the next 3 years, where you're basically going to be facilitating green recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. So give us a sense of what other areas of focus or sectors are you looking at this year besides these COVID-19 interventions?
Thank you. So the $1 billion commitment was made just about 100 days ago. And so this is very early days in terms of, deploying those resources. And we're looking at it in a way that, many societies are thinking about when we go back to pre-COVID days. And if you think about it, in many societies, many communities, it's going to be impossible to go back to pre-COVID days. Many societies were struggling before COVID, and COVID will have only exacerbated the problems and challenges that they have. And so it'll be very difficult for them, especially the most vulnerable communities, to go back to pre-COVID days. And so what our commitment aims to do is to help a clean, green recovery, help those communities recover from the effects of the pandemic. So first is to end the pandemic for everyone through our health interventions, testing, tracing, and vaccines when they become available, with data innovations to support that work. And then on the other side is providing opportunities, economic opportunities for communities to help them recover from the pandemic. And what this means is your previous story was about China, lifting 100 million people out of poverty and celebrating that milestone. What a significant milestone it was. And if you think about how they did that, one of the key things that they had to overcome was to ensure that they ended energy poverty in the rural areas and hard to reach areas and those communities that are not on the national grid. So part of this commitment is going to an effort that we call ending energy poverty, because you are not going to end poverty without first ensuring that your communities have energy. Energy provides opportunities for jobs. It provides opportunities for SMEs to add value to agricultural produce. It provides opportunities for farmers to irrigate their land, and so on. And so ending energy poverty is a key goal of this commitment. And then finally, another key goal of this commitment is bringing together this nexus between agriculture and energy. One of the things that has plagued African agriculture is, over the years, has been low productivity. Although there have been great improvements in the last 20 years, we are still lagging behind as a continent in terms of productivity and ensuring that we are getting the maximum out of the land that we can get. And one of the reasons is a big reliance on rain-fed agriculture. So the idea that energy could provide opportunities for irrigation is potentially something huge, a game changer that could bring transformation on the continent's agricultural sector. And then
Right.
secondly, agro-processing. Energy is a key requisite for agro-processing and adding value to agricultural produce.
Right.